The holiday season approaching us, it's left single folks grasping at straws trying to find a date to bring home to mom this Christmas dinner. Well, the modern dating scene is trash to say the least. In this video, we're going to discuss the dating market and how you're either getting laid a lot or not getting laid at all. And if you personally can relate to either side of this matter, feel free to like, comment your thoughts, opinions down below, and subscribe to see my daily videos right here on the channel. And a huge shout out to the handful of you guys checking out those links down below in the description. Those are always some of the best ways to support me and the content around here. Now, let's begin this shit show.
We know, for example, that men tend to place a greater emphasis relative to women on cues related to physical attractiveness, and that physical attractiveness tends to be related to things that have historically been related to fertility, right? So, for example, having an hourglass body shape, we know that this is something that's related to a woman's level of sex hormones, and that women with higher levels of estrogen, for example, are more likely to put on fat around their butt and their thighs and less likely to put on fat around their waist relative to women with higher or lower levels of estrogen, right? As estrogen levels decline when women age, their bodies become more straight up and down than they do hourglass. And this has to do with changes in estrogen. We also know that men tend to place a greater emphasis on cues related to youthfulness. So the cues that are related to maturity in a face, that's something that women tend to have a heightened preference for. So if somebody has, an older face, they tend to be seen as more attractive. And we see that because our brains have inherited this tendency to find cues related to wisdom and status and resource acquisition, all of which come with greater age. Women have inherited that preference for those kinds of qualities because that would have given them a mating-related advantage relative to preferring a more youthful face. Conversely, for men, they would have been penalized if they had a preference for maturity in the face of a potential partner. Because if you like women who have signs of maturity and wisdom and resource acquisition ability, you'd probably choose somebody who's approaching menopause, right? And that's not going to lead to any gene transmission at all.
I personally think something that plays a huge role in this matter is that men and women just simply value different things. Men value a traditional woman most of the time who can, settle down, can maybe provide them a family, can maybe provide them, some sort of traditional foundation. Well, a lot of women these days, they don't really, maybe they do want that sort of thing, but they want it a little bit later in time. Where I've seen a lot of women in my friend groups, they really get this way around, their late 20s, early 30s, when they feel like, life's starting to settle in and their body's starting to age, and they can't really, have these types of experiences throughout their entire life. So it really starts to hit them that, wow, if they really want to have this lifestyle, they have to kind of get into action, which men can kind of decide they want to settle down and create the traditional lifestyle anytime they want. I mean, men can kind of find a woman in their 30s and their 50s. They could find it in their 70s. I mean, I'm not saying you should have a kid in your 70s. It's kind of a lackluster thing to do to your child. I mean, I feel like the younger you have, I feel like it's not saying I'm not a big fan of teen pregnancy, but I do say that the younger you have your kid, the more life experience you'll be able to share with your kid. And being that my parents had me when they were older, I wish they had me a little bit sooner, because being that I lost my dad so early in my life and my mom is so old now, it definitely does go to show where there is some envy that I have towards other people who get to live out their life with their parents into their 60s, 70s, 80s. Well, I probably won't even have my parents in my 30s, so it's a crazy idea there. But at the end of the day, do you personally feel like this is a huge factor in terms of the dating scene? Is that the mindset, the views around dating and building down a long-lasting relationship is not really the foundation anymore, despite whether you're a male or female? And also, I'd love to hear which side of the matter you lay on and what your view on this is.
The dating apps create a terrible dynamic for men, where a small number of men get all of the invitations, and that means they can become jerks. They can be rude, they can date multiple women, and then the women feel men are jerks. But you've got most of the men are getting no bites, they're getting no dates, and they feel women are jerks. All they want is, X, Y, and Z. So I think the dating apps are one of the reasons driving the sexes apart. Again, this is just for heterosexual dating. Just driving the sexes apart, making it more difficult to date, to court, to fall in love, to marry, to have children. So I think we're going to look back on this and say the dating apps had all these unintended consequences that are really messing up the romantic lives of Gen Z.
As I've touched on in most of my other dating videos, the market that is dating has definitely changed over the years, because, the dating scene has changed. It's all within itself, being that now people mostly date online, they date through dating apps. There's not really much in-person meetups anymore, and if there is, the young folks definitely aren't doing it. It's more of an older generation type of aspect thing. So with that all being said, the options are skewed, where a the top percent of the men and women on these apps are getting the majority of the play. Well, the majority of the people on there are in the middle section. They're getting looked over, swiped by, or even if they do get a response, it's a lackluster conversation that ends after the, hey, how you doing? Not much, what's up? Okay, good, goodbye. So that's pretty much it. So do you personally see these online dating sites as a good way to actually find a long-lasting relationship? I've found some matches in the past. I'm currently single, so I guess I can't say they worked out, but I have had friends who have found other people through social media and it has worked out for them. But then again, it goes to show you never really know what is the pathway that God sent you on. So I'd love to know your personal thoughts, opinions down below, as well as if you just think you're cooked and that you're just going to be alone forever and that Christmas dinner is going to be all by yourself with a rotisserie chicken in your one-bedroom apartment.
Women turning 30 without a child. If you're childless at 30, at most, you've got a 50% chance of ever becoming a mother. And that's maximum. It's actually lower than that in most countries. I could not find anywhere any example. So it's a toss of a coin, turning 30 without a child. Now thinking, well, I should look for the right partner. But you might not meet that right person. It might take 2 years, 3 years to meet that right person. Now you're 35. And you know what? You might find at age 35, he wasn't the person for you. And now you're 38. And this is a life story of so many people I met, so many women in their 30s. It's like, where did life go?
As I touched on at the beginning of this video, once people approach their later years, it really starts to hit them that, wow, building this family, building this traditional lifestyle, building this, Disney picture, movie scene for me is not going to happen if I put it off much longer. So, especially women, they realize, age with age comes change. And, men as well, they start settling down around their late 20s, early 30s, 40s is the latest. And now there is a lot of technology change. I mean, people do live a lot longer these days in modern times, but even with all that going to say there, I still don't think it really, there's like this mental thing. We're tribalized in our head. It's like in our genes where you kind of want to procreate. You want to continue your legacy. And the best way to do that is to create offsprings. Now, with certain people, especially people with, thinking through the longevity here, they realize they probably can't afford these measures, so they're just opting out of having kids, which is what I've done myself. I'm probably not going to have a kid, but that's okay. Maybe one day, if I ever get my shit together, and if I ever find the one, if you even believe in soulmates, maybe I'll change my mind. But currently, right now, I think it's kind of out of budget for myself. To wrap up another video discussing the lackluster dating scene and how you and I are most likely going to die alone if you look at odds, statistics, and probability. But that's all bullshit when you're just out there online swiping through and trying to get a quick nut. So I definitely want to hear all your guys' thoughts, opinions down below regarding anything discussed in this conversation, as well as any other topics you'd love to hear me cover in future videos. And a huge shout out to the handful of you guys checking out those links down below in the description. Those are always some of the best ways to support me and the content around here, as well as I definitely want to show a lot of acknowledgement to the few of you guys hopping up over here in my live streams, hanging out with me for a bit, and our small little community that we're slowly but surely growing, as well as I more than appreciate everybody who's been sending me my personal DMs and sending me all the positive messages. It goes a long way, and I definitely have been needing it lately because I've been in a rough season, as most of us are, and it doesn't make me special, there's nothing new, but I'm just like all you guys, so more than appreciate you. God bless. That's kind of it for me in this one today, so I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.